All right, we're here in transit in my training camp trip as we wrap the summer up. Earlier in the week, I was with the New York Jets. That was the 22nd team I've seen over the course of the summer. I got 5 takeaways from their training camp. Takeaway number 1, the thing that people talked about most at their camp was actually the biggest concern coming into the offseason, and that's the offensive line. They feel like now they've got 5 legitimate NFL tackles. They feel like they've got good players in the interior in John Simpson, Oliveira Tucker, and Joe Tippmann, who's becoming a full-time starter at center in his 2nd year in the NFL. And they feel like the room is better too. And a huge part of that is the influx of veteran players, accomplished veterans, Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. And it's not just in what they've said to their younger teammates, it's in the standard that they've established. There was a play in the joint practice with the Panthers last week that sort of stands out to people there, where Aaron Rodgers threw a pick, the defensive player was running it back, and Smith and Moses both took off running 80 yards in the other direction, and until the whistle blew in pursuing the defender. And it sort of illustrates the work ethic that those 2 guys have brought, and the standard that they've set, where if they're doing those sorts of things, it's impossible for a younger player to refuse to do them himself. So those 2 guys have been great. Olu Fashanu looks like a legitimate 10-year answer at left tackle for them. He's actually played a little bit on the right side for the first time too. So if they have an injury, they're fortified there. And then, they've got a couple of other guys in Max Mitchell and Carter Warren who started games for them last year. So again, they feel like they got 5 legitimate NFL tackles. They're strong on the interior, much better offensive line situation. Takeaway number 2, they have some intriguing depth in the backfield as well. We know what Breece Hall can do. Braylon Allen, coming from Wisconsin, 20 years old, it's just a house out there. A 235-pound force between the tackles. Isaiah Davis, 220 pounds, coming from the FCS level, has turned a lot of heads. Those guys were taken in the 4th and 5th rounds. Give you a little bit more depth behind Breece Hall than you've had, and a little bit more versatility in that those guys can play on all 3 get downs. Both those guys can really catch the ball out of the backfield. They can protect. So they can mix and match backs now. It might be the biggest running back room in the league. Breece Hall is 220 pounds. Isaiah Davis right there at 220 also. And again, Braylon Allen at 235. Should also help them protect Aaron Rodgers. If you run the ball well, it's harder to get to the passer. Takeaway number 3, the defensive line was a strength last year. It's going to be a strength again this year. They have 7 former first-round picks up front. Jermaine Johnson's taken another step. Will McDonald's made progress. Quinnen Williams is Quinnen Williams. They have a couple of reclamation projects, which kind of mirrors what San Francisco, which is where Robert Saleh came from, has done over the last few years in the defensive line in taking on defensive linemen from other programs that washed out. Javon Kinlaw is a great example of it. A big, strong player, was great against the Panthers last week and going up against Robert Hunt, the $20 million guard there for Carolina. And looks like he's going to play a real role with his explosive first step. Again, his size, his strength should be a force next to Quinnen Williams there in the interior. And then Takk McKinley, the former first-round pick of the Falcons, another guy who looks like he's had new life playing in a simpler, faster system that Robert Saleh runs there in New York. Takeaway number 4, there are some questions about what's going to happen at receiver outside of Garrett Wilson. So one name to watch is an old name, and that's Allen Lazard. He's earned a lot of respect in that building based on what he went through over the course of the last year from an injury standpoint, battling back from that. This was a little bit of a crossroads this offseason for him, and he's really grinded away. He's worked really hard with the position coach there, Sean Jefferson, and obviously he's got Aaron Rodgers' trust. So he's really had a chip on his shoulder to show he's more than Aaron Rodgers' buddy. He's proven to be more than just Aaron Rodgers' buddy. He's a name to watch there, with guys like Malachi Corley and Mike Williams coming back off of injury in the mix as well. Finally, takeaway number 5, I did get some time with Aaron Rodgers on Monday. He seems like he's in a really good place mentally. He's very at peace. This looks like a guy who sees the opportunity in front of him and is genuinely appreciative of getting to play football again after going through the Achilles last year, and sees a team that's in a sweet spot where they've got all of these rookie contract guys that are really high-level players, your Sauce Gardners, your Garrett Wilsons, with, you know, your established veterans. The Jets internally feel like they're very good. Like they've got a really, really good football team. I know Aaron Rodgers feels that too, and it's brought, I think, an energy to his training camp. So should be interesting. Just a couple of weeks away, they go to San Francisco for that Monday night opener.